questions. And now I'm going to go on to read um, Beatrice's bio. Okay, she is in La Paz, Bolivia. She's a professor of English at Bolivian Catholic University. She's a professor of applied linguistics at Mayor de San Andres University. Okay, Beatriz is a teacher trainer with more than 25 years of teaching experience. She believes in promoting reflective learning, teaching, and critical thinking. Right now, she's going to talk about developing peer assessment and team collaboration while teaching remotely. Very important topic. Okay. All right, Beatriz.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dinah. And again, my apologies, but these things happen while
Yes, of
we
course.
have to teach remotely. We know that sometimes it's quite difficult. You may be prepared, but things may happen. So thank you so much. I would like to thank Rilo Andes, and I would like to thank Change Peru for this great opportunity. But above all, I would like to thank all the people that take time to be here, because it's not easy. We are working, and that is the idea. But today, as Dinah mentioned, today I would like to talk about developing peer assessment and how we can work on collaboration while we are teaching remotely, specifically when we are working with writing activities, but these ideas can also be applied to other skills here. And there's a small story here before we begin. When we were told that we had to teach remotely at the beginning of the pandemic, I got panicked. I panicked as everybody else did, I imagine. So I started, looking for things, doing things, and trying to be as efficient and effective as possible as I could be. And I developed an injury on my shoulder and my elbow and my wrist because I spent too many hours in front of the computer typing and everything. That was extremely painful, especially considering that I had more than 85 students and I had to give feedback, and I had to provide feedback in an asynchronous way. So I looked for something that could help me, reduce this pain and to be effective. That was my main objective. So I found an interesting application that is called Kaisena that helped me keep up with this necessity of providing online assessment and feedback to my students. I had to do it. The problem was that it was still too much work for me, and I needed to make my students become more accountable of their own learning. So I said, no, I cannot, continue working with this. So I have to train my students on giving and receiving feedback, helping each other, collaborating, and in a way that was going to, be helpful for myself, that I was going to do something to help them, and it was going to reduce a little bit the amount of work that I had, because believe it or not, I'm still with the pain, but I've learned how to manage. So I found this interesting application that I would like to share with you today. But that's not the only thing that we have to keep in mind. And if you allow me, I'm going to use my cheat sheet to refresh two important concepts that we have. Peer correction means that we are going to ask our students to help other students to improve. Now, we know, because we've been teaching for a while, that when we teach, we learn the double and we learn more. So why not training our students to help their students to do better, but also they are going to benefit because they are going to learn from the experience of helping others. So here I have an interesting quote from Mayo and Cooper, that they said that peer assessment is an incredibly helpful collaborative learning tool that involves and encourages students to have more involvement and greater responsibility on their own learning. And that's what we teachers want, right? So the very first thing that I had to train my students to work on was using rubrics, which is not very easy because the students are accustomed to, okay, Beatriz, tell me what's my score, I'm happy with it. But when you tell them, no, you have to know what you are doing. You have to know how you can improve. So I recommend that you use rubrics that are extremely detailed, probably as not detailed as mine. If you, just a reminder, if you want to see it a little bit bigger, double click on the presentation. It's going to get a little bit bigger. And I am a little bit obsessive compulsive, I have to admit it. This is a very short rubric. Usually my rubrics are the double of that. But what I want is that my students have exactly the idea of what I expect from them. So there's not going to be dark zones. And when I'm teaching, especially writing, that's extremely important. So my rubrics will cover, this is the language that you have to use for this project, and this is what I want you to achieve. Just in case, the yellow part is the one that my students achieve. The column that is on the left is for the overachievers, that they are not happy if they don't have 100. And the third column is the minimum score they should get to pass. And the last column is for the students that need help. But as I'm from La Paz, Bolivia, those who are from Bolivia, they're going to understand. I call them Bolivaristas. Bolivar is a soccer team that is, I'm not fan of it. So the very first thing is to create an appropriate rubric. And it is a good idea if you have a rubric for the whole course, but it's also extremely advisable that you have a rubric for specific projects. So what I used to do before, so I asked my students, this is an example that I got from a student from UMSA University. She nicely accepted that I could use that as an example. I had her permission. Her name is not there though. So what I did is like, okay, let's use Google Drive. Google Drive is a nice tool to use. So you can share documents with your students. The students can watch them. I can watch them. And very simply, well, you have to highlight something there, and then you can add your own comment. Usually, I typed a lot, and then I just comment on it, and my students could read what I had done. Following the same procedure, I decided to start working on collaboration. So I asked my students, do the same. Don't delete the comments so your classmates can read them. I want to read the comments as well and to see what improvements you have made using the rubric and using the comments of your classmates. That was extremely quite consuming. And for at least 3 weeks, I was not able to type because it was extremely, extremely painful. So after doing a big research, I found Kaisena. There are two things that you have to keep in mind. Traditionally, what the students do is they work on a Word document and then they upload it in Google Drive. That is very common. But when they do this, we have a limitation because we don't have access to all the other applications that you can find in G Suite Market. And as you can see here, this is a Google document, this is a Word document that was uploaded. And if you see the tabs, we have File, we have Edit, and we have 6 tabs there. However, when you save this document into a Google document, or when you upload a Google document, that the one we have here, you can see an extra tab. That is the add-ons. This extra tab is going to take us to use the different applications that are connected to the use of Google Drive. So what do you have to do? You click on add-ons, and you are going to find this other menu, find Get Add-ons, click on Get Add-ons, and you are going to find like several pictures, many pictures of the things that you can find in G Suite, the G Suite Marketplace. Look for Kaizena. It's very easy. As you can see in my examples, it is already installed. Just click on Kaizena and install it in your Google Drive documents. After you install it, then you have to go back to the Google Doc, click again on add-ons, and then you are going to see that Kaizena is going to show up automatically, and open Kaizena. A new menu is going to show up on the right. So of course, after you install it the first time, the application is going to ask you several personal information because you have to register. You will have to say that you are a student or that you are a teacher, and you have to register your school and everything. And of course, they are going to ask you to use your Gmail account address. It's going to take you 10 seconds, 15 seconds. It's not that difficult. Now, what do you have to do here? You have to learn to use it, right? So one thing that you can do is to highlight what you want to comment on. This is an example that I did with my students at Catholic University, and I got the permission of this other student to use her material. And she said, okay, Beatriz, if this is going to be for academic purposes, okay, I can give you my permission. And she was so sweet. So you highlight what you want to comment on. In this case, I just use the word accountant. And you can click, if you see on Kaisena, there are 4 tabs, 4 small tabs in the bottom. The one on the right says T. If you click in T, you can also type a message, a simple message. You just type it there, then you click on post, and the other person, the student in this case, he or she can read what you have posted. So in this case, could be a clarification for something, an explanation for something, or whatever. My problem is that this was exactly the same thing that I did with Google Drive, so I had to type a lot. But Kaisena has this other extra feature. You have it on the right. There is a small microphone. You can record your voice. So you highlight the part that you want to comment on, click on this small microphone, and then you can start speaking, say whatever you need, and then save and post. And the student or the other person is going to open Kaizena and is going to click on the recording, and he or she is going to listen to you. I'm sorry, I think I forgot to mention that students have to do exactly the same thing. Students have to open a Google Doc document in their Google Drive. They have to go to add-ons. They have to install Kaizena, and then they will have access to this. So the same process that you will do, they will do exactly the same thing. Advantage of this is that if you manage to do it, then it's going to be easier for your students because you have the experience, right? Now, students are going to be able to listen to you, and you can even record up to 10 minutes, which is extremely advisable. Sometimes I had to write a lot for my students to explain something, but when we speak, you can give more information. Also, if your students are learning English, it's a good idea that they listen to you because they practice their listening and they can listen to the recording several times. I found out that my students are a little bit lazy for reading, so listening to me was extremely helpful. That's not the only good feature that Kaizena has. You can also create your own rubric in Kaizena. So you see there are 4 tabs there. The second, beginning from the left, it's a skill. You create a rubric, and here I have marked, this is a resume project, so I have marked what my students were supposed to include in their profile statement. And you know that profile statements need to have lots of positive words. It has to be It has to enhance all the abilities of the person. So I created a specific rubric for that. So you click on a skill, and you are going to have access to all the skills that you added. You just choose the one that is appropriate for that specific project. You give the student the corresponding value using the criteria, the grade that you have created in the rubric. And once you have marked, as you can see, when you create the rubric, you have an explanation for the student why you are assigning him or her that value. You just post it, and again, the student will be able to see that. I don't know if you have also been paying attention to that, is that you can use different colors to post your text, to post your recording voices or skills. That is not the only thing that Kaizena can do. What happened to me, especially in this project, is that students made the same mistake again and again and again. And it was not only one student, it was many students making the same mistake. So what I noticed was like, if I start repeating the same thing, it's too much. So I created a lesson. I created a lesson in my Google Drive. I created a presentation. So students could watch the presentation, listen to my voice, and said, oh, okay, that's what I was supposed to do. Also, it was a reflective moment for me, because I said, okay, I thought I had explained that, but it is obvious that my students did not really follow my instructions. So I had to do something. So when you click here where it says lesson, then you can provide this presentation in this case, or it could be a PDF document, or it could be a Google Doc document, or something that you upload, or it could be a video, anything that you create for your students to access, and click there, post it for students, and then students are going to be able to access what you have prepared for them in advance. So this was going, and I see what they are doing, I make mistakes, the project is going on, but I can make amendments on the way. So this is the presentation I created as for the lesson. And as you can see, it had pictures, but also I recorded my voice because I couldn't type that much. Those are the 4 things that your students can do. Oh, this is important. This is something new that has appeared in Kaizena. You can also use Kaizena for Google Slides. Before, just 3 weeks ago, it was just restricted to Google Docs, but now you can do it with Google Slides as well, which is excellent, because now you can ask your students to make presentations using Google Slides, and you can use Kaizena with all the features, recording your voice, creating a rubric, and creating a lesson, or just texting a message. That's what you can do. But what is peer assessment here? So it seems that, again, I am doing all the job here. Not necessarily. What I started doing was, okay, here's your rubric. And before I correct it, I want to use the rubric, open the resume project of your classmate, and using the rubric, make comments on it. And say something or type something. Give a suggestion to your classmate. And if you see, this is the comment that the students can do. Students can do exactly the same thing that I have explained. So they can highlight something, record a voice or text a message, and the student that would like to respond to that, or ask questions or ask clarifications, or maybe say, no, I wanted to keep it this way because I think it is okay, click on those 3 buttons that you have there on the top, and he or she can reply. So the student has to reply on it. Either if it is your message or the message of a student, he or she can reply. And when you reply, again, you have the same possibilities. You can record your voice, you can add the value of a rubric, you can add a lesson, or you can text a message. In this way, students can have a conversation. You know, you can tell them, because sometimes I do that. Okay, you're not going to type your messages, you have to speak to each other. And you have to listen to what your classmates say and respond to him or to her. And they can defend their point, or they can ask for clarification. So, oh yeah, you said that I have to do this, but I don't understand why. Would you please elaborate on your point? So in that way, students can go, you know, back and forward and have this conversation and collaborate with each other. Now, this was really helpful for me to see, because I had these stronger students that really understood what they were supposed to be doing, and then these the weaker students was like, ah, okay, that's easy. There's another thing here. I have a very strong personality, I have to admit it. And sometimes I look my students like, excuse me, and they get scared. It was worse when we were in face-to-face classes, because I remember when a student told me, Beatriz, you looked at me. And I looked at everybody, I look at everything. No, but you look Beatrizita's style at me. So sometimes I feel that my personality could be a problem, could be an obstacle. So when students have the opportunity to talk to each other, to collaborate as a team, the connection with me is reduced. So they have more possibilities. You know, the student that doesn't feel so confident talking to the teachers, that, oh, I can talk to my classmate, and maybe even my classmate can talk to Beatrizita. So it is helpful on that way. Now, how are you going to prepare your rubrics? How are you going to prepare your lessons? You have access to a dashboard on Kaizena. And once your students start working on Kaizena, as you can see, you can see their results. Not all my students have given me permission to show the results. That's why I'm not going to share that part with you, but you will see what they have done and what feedback you have provided and what feedback they have received and given to other students. That's accessible there. I'm going to go directly to explain how you can create rubrics in Kaizena. And as you can see here, they are called skills. There are some pre-established skills there that you can adapt, or if you prefer, you just can create yours. So on your dashboard, you click on skills, then go to the part that says new skill. You have to give your new skill a name. You save that name, and then you have the different levels that you have to create. So you just give a name to your criteria, and then you provide an explanation for that criteria. In the case of the profile statements, so my explanations were like, please use more positive adjectives, or you are not supposed to use complete sentences here. You have to emphasize who you are to improve that. So you create different levels. You have the possibility to have up to 5 different levels, and you just save it, and that's it. If you want, you can add these to a specific rubric. In this case, I created a rubric for this resume project. So you create your new rubric, your new project if you want, you give it a name, and then you can start adding the different skills to this resume. So first, you create your skill, then you create the general project, and you start adding the skills to that project. And you can create as many skills as you want, and you can create as many rubrics as you want. That is something good that you have from Kaizena. There is not a limit. At least I have not found a limit yet.
Beatriz, sorry to
Yes.
interrupt you. Yeah, you have about
Yes.
20 minutes left. Okay.
Sure. Thank you so much. Really appreciate
Okay.
it. Thank you. After you add those skills, then we have to go to creating lessons. If you remember from my example, I created a lesson first in Google Drive. Then I came back to my dashboard. I opened lesson, give it a name, and then I just added it to this new lesson and saved it. Together to this, you can give a message or if you want, you can upload a PDF document or add a link for a video or something. You just saved it and that's it. Now, so far up to this point, I have mentioned the free and the subscription possibilities that you have. Now, the free version has its limitations. For example, you cannot record a message that is longer than 30 seconds. But if you have a subscription, you can do more. The subscription is not too expensive. It's $6 a month, and you can pay it annually. And you have to, subscribe every year. But if you do not want to do that, then you can use the app kaizena.com in your own computer. So you have to go to app.kaizena.com. You have to register, open it, and you can create courses here, as the one that you see I created for my students last semester. You create your courses, and then you have to invite your students, and they have to open an account with the invitation that you have sent them. And in that way, they can access to Kaizena. To me, this is positive. This is easy to work with because I have learned, but I have to comment on the negative side. Some of my students said, Beatriz, these are too many applications that we have to register, and we have to know we don't want to have one extra one. That's something that they can say, but you can use it this way. And it's basically exactly the same thing. In this case, you can upload the projects of your students, or students can upload their own projects on themselves. You open the projects, you see here, you highlight, and in a similar way, you can provide a text message recorded, or you can type it, you can add a skill, or you can add a lesson. And if you pay attention on the left, my student gave me permission to share with you. She responded to me, either by typing or either by recording her own voice. So this was a way to have a conversation. The only disadvantage that I would find here is that students are not able to as easily access to the work of other students. But I have to admit that they really enjoyed it. And at the end of the semester, because with them I used the app kaizena.com, and they said, oh, I wish other professors used Kaizena to help me improve in my work. And I felt so proud. I said, oh, that's so cute. I love my students. I think I finished earlier. So that would be, I don't know if there are questions about it. No questions?
Hello, Beatriz. Good afternoon, Marita. Hello.
Wait, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So, can I talk?
Let me check if I have questions here. If not, I'm going to.
Yes.
Yes, Maria Teresa,
Yes.
Teresa, right? Turn on your microphone.
Okay, it's on. Okay, I want to ask you something. Hello, Beatriz. Good afternoon.
I think, Teresa, I think you want a question. You have to turn on your microphone. If it doesn't turn on, you have to refresh. Okay, you have to press the arrow to refresh.
Dinah, she's speaking.
Yes, she's probably refreshing right now. Yes.
Okay. Yes, we were able to see, but let's wait. Maybe while Teresa refreshes it,
I'm going to see.
Maybe another question?
I'm going to see if there are other questions here. Wait. Well, everybody's very happy. Says a lot of thank yous for your useful information.
I think I was telling Michael that I ran.
There she is.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm having some issues. Can you hear me? Sorry. Yes. Hello, Beatriz. Good afternoon. Nice to see you again. I want to ask you something. Really interesting what you said and what you show us. But is it possible to work in groups in this way? So, because I would like to see, even though that is a peer work, I would like to work in groups after giving some homework to make groups between all.
Yeah, that's what I did. That's what I did, because in this class I had like 48 students. So I created 12 groups of 4. And I opened a Google Drive folder for each group. I know it's a little bit work at the beginning. And that's exactly what I am doing right now with my classes that I'm having here. You need to train them. You need to train them from zero, and you have to go step by step, because if you try, if you expect your students they are going to do everything like well from the beginning, it's not going to be easy for them. So I open a folder with 3-4 students, and I give access to them. Students have to, that's a very, very good question. In Google Drive, students have to have access as editors. They have to be able to be editors because I made a mistake once and I just shared the document as viewers. Bad idea. I failed miserably and I felt really bad. And then you are like, right? So they have to be editors. You have to teach them to install Kaizena from the add-ons. You have to explain to them clearly that they cannot upload Word documents, that they have to, if they upload a Word document, they have to save it as Google Docs or to work directly on a Google Doc. And they can use Kaizena in the same way that I have explained. So they open Kaizena in the document of the friend, right? Like, I'm happy to see my beautiful friend, Carlene Groszek, my best friend in the world. So imagine that I'm going to comment on Carlene's document. I open her document, I get my rubric, and I comment on her. And she can do the same thing in my document. And I give time I give time to students for them to do this process for a while. So this week, work on this part of the project. So next week is collaborating time, help each other, make amendments based on that. And then after 2 or 3 weeks, I check it out. So it's possible to do. That's why I call it's peer assessment, because they can help each other. Students are learning where they said, oh, she did that. Should I have done the same thing? And it's also a reflective process, but it reduces my work a lot, because when then I finally read the final product, it's really much better. I have noticed the differences from last year to this year, and when students help each other, the product is definitely much better.
Thank you.
I have a question here. It says, Beatriz, could you describe the students that you used Kaisena with? Are they ELLS or teachers in training? Yeah, that was Carlene.
Both. The example that I showed you with the resume project, they were learners of English. So they were intermediate level, B1, maybe A2 transitioning to B1, but that was the thing. this one. This was a project that I did with my students, but I also use Kaizena with level 1. So with level 1 students, in the first project, they had to write 5 sentences introducing themselves, simple sentences like, I am Beatriz, I am 52 years old, I am very intelligent and beautiful, things like that. And the students had to access Kaisena, and then, you know, oh, you need to put a comma, or, you know, when you say Bolivian, Bolivian goes with capital letter in the B, things like that. So it's possible to use it. And with my basic students, I had to use Spanish at the beginning to explain, but then in my own feedback, my recording my voice, or when I asked them to record their voices, I said, please speak and speak English, because that's the idea. The first example that I shared is from one student from UMSA University, and they are studying applied linguistics. So hopefully they are going to become English teachers in the future. And I used it with them, and they were the ones that gave me these great feedbacks saying, oh no, I would like all my professors to use Kaizena. They need to learn about Kaizena. Now, the advantage of Kaizena is not only for English students, of course, or English teachers. You can use Kaizena in any kind of subject that you want.
Another question is, so if they are editors, they can erase their made document?
Thank you for that question. Yes, and that is a very important recommendation that you have to give them. Number one, in my personal case, I do not upload new documents all the time, because I want to see also the progress of the peer assessment. So I need to have access to what your classmates said. And if you know a little bit about Google Docs, it is possible to see the history of the document. So you can say, oh, these changes were made. It's something that I do frequently, just check the changes that were made in the document. But they have to be careful, because it has happened to me that I accessed, for example, again, Carlene's document, and accidentally I deleted something. And then Carlene says, what happened? I had my project complete. What happened? So yes, we have to recommend our students to be careful, because they have access to the document and they can do anything in the document. You know, encouraging great responsibility, especially with the documents of the classmates, is essential.
Okay. One more question. Lilin says, how do teachers see the overall peer assessment done by all students in Kaizena?
This is a difficult question for me. I have shared this experience with a couple of English teachers, like in detail, and also I share these with professors at Catholic University. And the most difficult part is, I think, trying it out. So it looks that it's too much, but it is not. It's in fact very easy. I learned to use it in 1 week. Of course, I have to admit that at the time I was desperate, because I was in lots of pain. So I needed to find something so I could, you know, continue working. But the research says that students learn a great deal by helping each other. Another thing that I would recommend try Kaizena, it is because students are a little bit lazy to read. So when they listen to you, it's easier. And then when they have to speak, it's easier. If your students are language learners, then it's a great practice for them, because they have to speak and they are going to listen to other people. So yeah, I go there. And just, I would like to read a quote from Van der Waal. They said that when students work on peer assessment, this is kind of a convenient to know what quality work is, and this is extremely helpful for their learning process. So that's why I did it. And if you analyze it, there's no much difference when they have to do peer assessment in their classes. I mean, you can do this online, right? Right now, at least in Bolivia, we are not going back to the classroom. We are going to finish this term from our houses. I was worried that my cats were going to start jumping on the laptop because they love to do that. Probably we are going to go back to the classroom next year. I really don't know, but I will still use Kaisena, that's for sure.
Eddie Macayo is sending his regards. Wonderful information. I'm proud to be your student. And then Rosemary asked, can you give me an idea for students who work with the tool of WhatsApp? I don't know if, is that a good question?
I am going to be extremely honest here. I don't know how to respond to that question because I don't like to use WhatsApp with my students. I have the opportunity to work with LMSs at Catholic University. We have NEO, and at UMSA we use Schoology. And I think it is better to communicate with the students using the appropriate LMS. I have no experience using Kaisena and WhatsApp. So I'm sorry for that, Rosemary, bad Beatricita for that, but it's just, I don't feel comfortable using WhatsApp. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a good point. It really is problematic. It's a problem.
Yeah, sometimes.
Especially when you have a lot of students, right?
Yeah, it happened to me even at the beginning of the pandemic, even not using WhatsApp. It happened to me that my students sent me messages at 3 a.m. in the morning, and I just listened to the new on the cell phone. I got up and I responded at 3:05. So I didn't sleep well. I was stressed out all the time. And I heard that the professors that shared their cell phones, it was worse because they even received phone calls at 3 a.m. in the morning asking them about the assignment that was supposed to be submitted at 11 p.m., like 4 hours before. So
yeah, it's a big.
It was important for me at a certain moment to decide I need to keep my professional life professional and my private life private. So I don't share my cell phone with my cell phone number with my students, but I make myself sure that we can contact through Schoology or NEO, or when students cannot send me message there, I have to respond to emails. And using Kaisena, it's a slow work, but it has paid off. It has paid off, yes.
And sorry, that's my personal question. How many sessions do you sort of like take to explain to the students how Kaisena works? Because I know that it's important to explain it very well at the beginning so that later on, as you say, things get a lot easier for both sides, right?
So in term, I usually program 2 longer projects in my classes with English language learners, 2 big projects. And the first one is going to be the one that is going to be crucial at the moment of explaining that. So the first week I said, okay, install Kaisena. That's the first step. I make a demonstration, a practical demonstration, and then they have 1 week to install it and to be curious. The second week I introduced the rubric, and then I assigned the first real assignment. Like in this resume project, my students for this week, they had to first find a job ad because they're going to, tailor a resume for that specific job ad, and now work on your personal information. You have to have this format. They are learning, so they have to follow some format and everything. Use the rubric and start checking your work, and now use Kaisena to comment on your classmates' work. But it's something easy at the beginning. And then the things are going to get a little bit more complicated. So because I have a semester, I would say that the very first 2 or 3 weeks are essential. because this is a long project. They are going to finish it at least in 6 weeks. After that, once they know, it's just, okay, we have just one document, you have written one paragraph, get the rubric, comment on it, and then it's easier because the students know how to do it. So I take my time. And when students do not have, because we have to be realistic, some of my students do not have easy access to laptops, to cell phones, because Kaizena works well in cell phones or tablets, or they don't have Wi-Fi, then probably I will just program one project, and I will take my time to, to do that.
Yeah, that's important. Really important.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I have here, would you like me to read this one? Yes, I'm having that.
Go ahead.
I'm having that problem now, educating students of all ages and parents too about being respectful to schedules and using WhatsApp groups. She's talking about the WhatsApp. For everything else,
yes,
institutional email is mandatory. Yeah, that's
absolutely true.
Yeah.
And I would also recommend something that some professors do not agree with me, but others do. Establish office hours. I have office hours for my students, so I respond to their emails, messages, or whatever from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. every day from Monday to Friday. So I'm here sitting down. If there are messages, I respond, or, and students know that they can write a message at 3 a.m. on Saturday morning. They will have to wait for me until Monday to respond to that.
Mm-hmm.
There is a disadvantage that they can be a little bit frustrated if you do that, but also the advantage is that they're not going to wait until the last minute to ask you important questions about assignments or exams, which in my country is a very big problem. If there is a country of procrastinators, maybe Bolivians will win.
Well, that happens in Peru too.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know if there's something else that you would like to know about Kaisena. I just strongly recommend check it out, try it out. They also have nice blogs that can provide you, with, they can give you some answers to small problems that you have. Oh yeah, and I forgot this. They respond to your request in 24 hours. Mm. So if you have a problem, you don't know how to deal with it, you send a message, and in 24 hours, you are going to receive a response so you can do something to solve your problem. They are very collaborative and helpful as well. Mm. And they have a blog in which you can see how other teachers around the world are using Kaizena, so you can get ideas as well. Mm.
Okay.
So that will be all, I guess.
Yes, everybody's very happy. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you so much. A very good presentation, useful information. Yes, so everybody's very happy.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Well.
So to say goodbye.
Okay.
Once again, thank you to Rilo Andes, to Change Peru. Dinah, thank you. My apologies again. I didn't want you to have a heart attack because my internet died just 2 seconds before.
Yeah, yesterday I had that problem, remember? So we're even now.
Oh, yeah.
No problem now. We always have to understand this internet issue because, I mean, with our students, we have the same problem, right? So, yeah. Yes, we have to be very conscious about it. Yeah. Well, it was a pleasure working with you. It was very nice.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you to all my fellow colleagues from Sucre.
Thank you.
To Maria del Carmen, my beloved friends, Carlin. So great to see you.
Okay. Bye-bye.